Today I have two scintillating women, achievers, women who've set new boundaries and new parameters on how success is defined. And my question to them tonight is only going to be one. Whenever I introduce women on a panel, and me being a woman as well, moderating the session, people say, ye thoda aurton wala panel hai. As I introduce Pallavi Shroff, she doesn't need an introduction. She heads the biggest law firm in the country, Shardul, Amarchand, and Mangal Das, and of course, Union Textiles, Women and Child Development Minister Smriti Irani. Pleasure to have you. I just want to ask you one question, Smriti Irani. The first question normally on such panels is, are you taken as seriously as your contemporaries and your colleagues in the field you're in politics, in terms of a strategic partner in politics?
I think that I've had the privilege of serving in two distinct professions, in media and in politics. And to answer your question bluntly, after my financial success in the media and my political success in Amethi, need I now explain whether I am strategically well-equipped? And any man or woman who seeks that answer from me, I think doesn't do a great disservice to my gender. I think that this is a challenge not only women but also men who do not come from very, very elegant or financially empowered means. They are bound to be faced with such questions. It is less to do with the gender, more to do with your economic disposition. Where does gender come in? Gender comes in, I think, when you are in a position of service and you have to execute authority. That is where you are many a times counseled to do it gently. But then authority knows no gender. Power knows no gender. Power knows outcomes. And I think that when, as an individual, you are focused particularly on outcomes, then maybe much is not forgiven about you. But at the end of the day, what matters is whether you can deliver. And if there's one thing that can be said about me, that yes, I have delivered.
Absolutely. After Amethi, who can question you on delivery, because that was the single biggest seat which had all the spotlight on it in the 2019 Lok Sabha elections. But let me come across to you, Pallavi Shroff. Pallavi Shroff, I want to ask you this question. As Smriti says, economic position that you come from, the power position that you come from, defines how people treat you. Have you had situations in your life, especially in boardrooms, in commercial litigation and the kind of cases you and your firm would be dealing with, where people think, you know, a woman, can she do the strategy as well as possibly a man? Have you ever come across some situations like that?
I have. And I think this was when I started my practice decades ago, I should say. Yes, I did come across a situation where acceptability with the client was an issue. And they were never sure whether they would come to me or wanted to go to another man in the office. And quite often they would say, can we go to Mr. Shroff? And I'd say no. And he would say, no, you go to her and she does it. You know, and yes, there was no choice. They had to come to me. So with, you know, when they see you that you are there, you find solutions to problems, you are there every morning, they have no choice, I think, but to accept. So long as you are clear with what you are speaking, what you are delivering, I think they realize they have to accept. Though I also want to say, I was told once by a client that when they used to come to meet me, they were a little nervous because they were dealing with a woman and they didn't know how things would go or how I would react or what I would do. So, but from that stage, when I started my career till today I don't think there is any question of being accepted or, you know, you walk into a boardroom, people accept you. You go to court, you are accepted.
But that's taken a long time.
It has taken a while. It has taken a while. And
so, Smriti, that's the question I want to ask you. Today, after Amethi, there is a different Smriti Irani, which is a Smriti Irani 2.0. Because, you know, you've taken the toughest constituency, you've delivered a victory there. I want to go back to your early days. You know, you were a success in the media, as you pointed out, but then you were a novice in politics when you entered politics. How's been your journey from that point of trying to make yourself or make your presence felt in the field of politics, and then from there on making your way to the point where today you are the Smriti Irani?
I think that if you look at what Ms. Shroff said, and between her enunciation and mine, one of the greatest challenges comes when you need to, like I said, exercise authority, or when you need to execute a particular plan or a strategy that you have surmised upon after due consultation with all your co-workers. I think that is where the gender power play comes in. One of the greatest challenges that I had when I came into politics was not that I was a woman, but because I was from the media and that I was young. I began my political career at the same time that I began my media profession. The only difference was that I carried the burden of being from the media field and not being serious enough, not being old enough. The fact that I was one of the youngest entrants was also a disadvantage. So the female disadvantage was the last on the rung of disadvantages. So I think that the journey began with certain challenges. The idea was to embrace those challenges and to convert them into opportunity. So if you are looked upon as somebody who is disadvantaged from that perspective, you are happy to find people who are willing to support you or teach you or add to your potential. And I think I was very blessed that way. I had people in academics, in administration, in policy making, in politics, who said, does not matter how they look at you today, what matters is what you deliver upon. And I delivered. So there have been many instances where plants will be made. It happens with women who are competitive and competent about their nature and how they exercise authority. There will always be gossip and office talk, but I think it's a part and parcel of being a professional. It happens to men as well. With certain women, it's more pronounced, but then doesn't matter. Ultimately, what matters is, like Ms. Shroff said, you be relevant, you be competent, and nothing succeeds like success.
Smriti Irani, you didn't mention the politician was from which party?
That's being reserved for my book.
Come on, Smriti. That's what I'm asking you. Peer pressure from within, because the
I think
I'll come to separately.
I think, Navika, to be fair to everybody, irrespective of which political party they're a part of, like I said, if you're a woman who's competent, if you're a woman who has not only competence, but you're competitive, and you do not mince words in accepting that, yes, I know how to build a successful project, then there's bound to be some ricochet which happens. But even today, as a female politician, I am, when I withstand, let's say, pressure or any kind of impact from a political or verbal spat from the opposition, many a times when there is not meat enough or substance enough in the attack on policy issues, they make it personal. I've been asked many a times, don't you find it discomforting that slurs, unintended jokes, or for that matter, sometimes extremely explicit sexual slurs are thrown at you? Absolutely not. Because those who do it presume that I will wilt away like a flower, and I don't. I make sure
you've taken a few to court.
I have taken much, but I'm of the opinion that this entire backlash was intended to ensure that I lose focus. And that is what I was adamant about not losing. Focus from my work, focus from the outcomes that I was supposed to deliver.
That's the important point. Many people want you to lose your nerve, lose your focus. And that's how they deal with women. Oh, women have to multitask. They don't have that much of an attention span. Kabhi na kabhi, kuch na kuch. Are inko thoda sa humor kar lo. You know, that's the kind of attitude. Have you come across that? Maybe not within your organization, but when you're competing outside, you know, people look at you. Oh, she's a woman, so you know, nothing to really worry about. If it was another man competing with them, they would have looked at it differently.
Well, I don't think I've come across a feeling like that, or even a sense of anything, something like that. But I agree with what Smriti ji says, that when you are in authority, when you have power, and when you exercise that power, a lot of people find it difficult to accept. And that is why they try and sort of sidetrack something or put some other issues on the table to just take your focus away from something. So long as you remain focused, you remain sort of, you know what you want, there is clarity in what you want, and you remain on that track, I think they find it difficult to deal with it. I'm not worried. That's their problem. It's not my problem. I know what I want. How do I want to go about doing it? I will talk to my people. I will lay out a path and follow it. If you don't want to follow it, that's also okay. It doesn't bother me.
So, Smriti Irani, I want to ask you, many people would have thought that after Amethi, you were a giant killer, and politically, possibly women and child development is not something that does justice to the persona of Smriti Irani, who's done such a huge political battle, won it, defeating the Gandhis in their own bastion, coming back. You know, people would have thought that Smriti Irani would be in a ministry which was possibly more important than this, because as I said, many people will look at issues of women and issues relating or a position as a women and child development minister as औरतों का मंत्रालय. How do you react to something like that?
I think for a Prime Minister who says that his main political agenda is women-led development, this is the best service that you can give in the best ministry and office.
Is that politically correct, or
no,
do you really believe?
Absolutely not. I have spent 20 years of my public life working for women and children. I, before joining the political organization, was the USAID WHO ambassador to India for the WHO ORS program for children. So there has been a political social legacy that I have left in the same field. And I think for somebody who has worked in that field, to get the position of a cabinet minister to change the policy that you know need tweaking or need detailing is one of the greatest blessings that you can get as a political activist. Insofar as textiles, for that matter, when the pandemic hit our country, one of the greatest challenges before us was the availability of PPE suits. We never had it in our country. We never manufactured a single one. And to have that in a pressure, to have that responsibility given to you, and the faith that Smriti has, she will deliver. I think that's a great takeaway in one's professional life.
So, Smriti Irani, how do you respond to somebody saying कि औरतों को ripped jeans नहीं पहननी चाहिए?
Well, the only way my jeans are getting ripped if I'm trying to fit into my old ones. But I think that we need to, and I've said this many a times on many a platforms, and I'm very candid about it. Irrespective of men, women, transgenders, politicians have absolutely no business talking about how people dress, what they eat, what they do, because ultimately our service is that of policy making and ensuring rule of law. There have been faux pas made by many politicians, men and women, I must here say this. It's not as though these particular positions have only been taken by men. There have been such faux pas or such statements made by men and women, and I think that with growing urgency, there is conversation across our country in all communities that there are certain things which are sacrosanct. And one of them is a woman's right to choose to live the way she wants to live her life and engage with society as she deems fit. As long as you don't break the law, I have absolutely no business telling you what to do.
But you're fine when you say that, these statements have been made by men and women, but you call it a faux pas. I'm saying this is a new...
Because nobody in their enlightened minds would make that statement.
But he's a newly chosen chief minister within 24 hours of taking over as chief minister in the middle of a raging pandemic. The first thing that he chose to speak about was ripped jeans. Does it make you angry? Do you stop becoming a normal person because you're a politician?
No, I think that the challenge for me as a politician is that only women politicians are asked to respond to it.
No, we've asked the question to many male politicians.
Not enough. I think it's always the female politicians who are first tweeted to and said, "Aap kya bologe? आपने भी तो जीन्स पहनी थी." हाँ भैया पहनी थी, अब बहुत मोटी हूँ इसलिए पहन नहीं पा रही हूँ. दूसरा, always a mic is thrust at a female politician and she's asked, "आप बताओ, आपके colleague ने ये किया." My question is, why aren't men asked as ferociously or vociferously as women are? And secondly, like I said, that when women like me in politics or in social positions vehemently state our point of view, why am I to explain somebody else's disposition? Why shouldn't my, let's say, thought process on it be respected enough that, yes, this is what she believes in, let's respect her for that?
Many women have this problem that it is their peer group where the problems actually come up, the level above possibly realize your potential.
But there's a difference between politics and other professions. We are judged by the people of our country.
And there's nobody
in between. It is the citizen
but if you were not given that opportunity, how would you be assessed?
It is the citizen that matters in politics. And the citizen, I'm blessed, chose me.
Pallavi,
but I think
you're saying
it is both. People who are at your level at times cannot accept that you are going so well ahead in life, and people above you probably have a mindset quite often. I'm not saying everybody, but quite often will have a mindset, of the suspicion. Can she deliver? Can she do this? And the same questions. She will have a baby, then I have to give 6 months maternity leave, then I have to do this. And they just cannot conceptualize that a woman can sit at home and work.
No, and
we've all worked this 1 year, work 15, 16 hours a day, So I've seen this happen actually, where the seniors don't trust the women. Now, they're always skeptical. Sometimes women who are so good, they recognize it, but they will not be given an equal opportunity because there is that inherent bias.
Navika, just to
2021, if we are talking about this, then what about the numbers?
Since you wanted a candid confession, to be fair, where did I face this problem? I genuinely faced it in the media. When I was a media professional and I was acting in a show, there were men who were positioned and paid better than me in the first year, because by then I had not proved my mettle. And I remember when the contract was to be renegotiated, I said, this is the X salary that I expect. They said, too bad, we will throw you out. I said, too bad, go find yourself another lady to play Tulsi. I negotiated.
With Ekta Ravi Kapoor, you had that problem?
I didn't have a problem with Ekta, but there were men on the table who wanted to negotiate money.
And then?
And then I got what I wanted.
But that happens.
For that to happen, you need two things to happen. One, as Pallavi said, you need to be extremely competent. And two, you need to be confident enough to know that you're talented enough to negotiate hard. It is not possible that you will win every time you negotiate. It is not possible that you will walk away successful. You will be dropped. I was dropped from projects as well for giving birth to a baby. I was doing 3 projects simultaneously while I was doing Ekta's. And I had a male producer who told me, if you work till the last day, we know in television we make tape banks. He said, make tape banks so that you can nurse your baby after 1 month and come back to work. He fired me the day I had my baby and hired somebody else. And I remember my family, I had mortgages to pay, I had loans to pay, and my family said, why are you smiling? I said, because I'm so damn good at my job that project will shut down. And it did.
Is that confidence, or is that just faith in yourself? How do you see this?
It's faith in yourself, and that's very important for women to have. Sorry. I think it's very important for women to have faith in themselves. A lot of women actually lack the confidence in themselves, and with a little bit of support from an organization or a mentor, you know, they can go so much more. Why are we afraid to, as Smriti ji said, why are we afraid to ask for a certain thing, a position or salary, whatever, or raise an issue that why am I being treated unequally as compared to a man? Why do I have to work twice as hard to prove I'm half as good? You know?
Sometimes women work harder so that it takes a while for the men to catch up. I'm sorry, but we do.
No, but
but now, Pallavi ji, at least Navika
note.
knows the next time she has to negotiate a contract, who to call.
Yes, absolutely.